Okay, for this part of percents, we're going to look at the real life applications. Percents is one of the few things, or one of the things in math that are extremely applicable with real world situations, and it's super easy to figure out, when am I going to see this again? When will I encounter this in the real world? Percents are really, really easy to do that with. For each of these, I'm going to show you a couple of different ways to approach it, so that way you can go about it either way that you prefer. Whichever way makes more sense to you. You do not have to do both ways. Pick the way that you like best, okay? So let's start with commission. In this video, we're going to cover commission, discount, markup, tip, tax, what happens when you get both of them together. So we kind of cover a little bit of everything regarding percents. So commission is defined as the money that you earn based off of a percentage of an amount that you sell. Typically, commission is involved in real estate and cars. That's usually the most common places, but there are other times where salespeople, if I sell something, I don't get the cost of that. If I sell a TV for $500, that $500 doesn't come to me. That $500 goes to the people that made the TV. But I might get some of that $500. I might get like $50 off of it, and that's mine. So $450 goes to the other people who made it and that kind of stuff, but I might get $50 from it. So that's kind of how commission works, is it's just pretty much percent of what you have sold. The first question says, for every car you sell, you get a 6% commission. If your total sales for the month are $125,650, what is your commission? Okay, now if you are someone that likes the equation, we can think of it as commission is going to be our part. Okay, commission's the part, whereas total we know is the whole amount. So when we're thinking about it in part over whole. So we can go back to thinking about it as the percent as a decimal times the total amount is going to equal the part, kind of a thing. For this one, we could say 0.06 or 0.06 times $125,650, and we would end up with $7,539. Pretty straightforward, right? Now, if you prefer to do the proportion, I'm just going to set up the proportion. I'm not actually going to go through the process of solving the proportions, because at this point you should be really good at solving proportions. If you're not, refer back to the earlier videos. We're dealing with is over of, or part over whole, equals percent over 100. So it's going back to that idea. So the 6 is going to go over the 100. And the total sales, that's your whole amount. It's going in the bottom. And we don't have our part. Cross, multiply, divide, you get $7,539. Same answer. So again, go with the one that makes the most sense to you. It doesn't matter to me which one you pick. Second question on commission. You get a 3% commission on all sales. This month you made a sale for $45,050 and a sale of $6,785.25. What's your commission for the month? Well, the very first thing that I know I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to combine to figure out how much did I actually sell this month. So we need to figure out how much were my total sales. And I find out that I have sold $51,835.25 worth of stuff. Okay? So in looking at that, now we go to do this. I can either do the equation or the proportion. I'll start with the equation, which would be 0.03 times that 51,835.25, or I can do the proportion, I know that 3 is the percent, so it's going over 100, and that 51,835.25 is my part. And in either case, we end up with $1,555.0575. We know that we are going to have to round. We don't care about the 5. We say, what does 7 do to this 5? It makes it go up. So our commission is $1,555.06. Taking a look at the third commission problem. You receive an 11% commission on all sales you make. If your commission is $512.50, what's your total sales? So we now have to think about this as saying $512.50 is not our total sales. That's how much we got to take home. So that is not the whole amount. That is the part. So when we go to do the equation, we would have 0.11 times the total amount, which would be, we don't know, is going to equal the part of 512.50. We know to solve this, we have to divide 512.50 divided by 0.11. Okay? If we chose to go about it as a proportion, we would end up with 11 over 100. Now that 512.50, that's not the whole amount that we sold. That is our commission. That's how much we got to take home. So that 512.50, it's the part, it's going to go in the numerator. We cross multiply, we divide, and we end up with 4,659.09 repeated. When we go to round, we know that there's a 0, excuse me, I said 09, 0 after that 9. 0 makes the 9 stay the same. So our total sales for the month is $4,659.09 for our total sales. So notice in that case that they gave us the commission and we had to find the total. So that's how we knew we were given the part and we had to find the whole amount. Now for the final example on commission. You get a $400 base salary for your job of selling toasters. That means you're going to get $400 every month. You're guaranteed that much. Now, if you sell things, you're going to get additional money. So it's kind of like saying you can't make any less than $400, but you can make more. And it's up to you to determine how much more based on how much you sell. So the first thing that we have to, then we continue reading. You also get a 2% commission on all your sales. If your take-home pay for the month is $756, what is your total sales? I guess you should probably say what are your total sales. But, okay, the first thing that I have to figure out is how much did I take home in commission? So I had $756 that I took home that month on my paycheck, but $400 of it was going to be given to me no matter what I sold that month. If I sold nothing, I was getting just $400. That means $356 is our actual total amount. That's the whole amount, because that is just what's based off of the commission. Okay, so $356 is my commission. So excuse me, that's not the total amount, that's my part, because that's the actual amount of money that you made from commission. Now we can go ahead and solve this, and we have two choices again. We can go about it solving the equation, and we have 2% as a decimal times we don't know our total amount times our commission of $356. So that means that to solve for our total sales, we have to take 356, divide it by 0.02, and you can add the 0 that comes before the decimal or not, your choice. The other way we could go about it is our proportion. We know that 2 is going to go over 100, and 356 is our part because that is the commissionable amount. We then solve our proportion, and we find out that we sold $17,800 worth of toasters that month. A lot of money that month, right, for toasters? Okay, that pretty much covers commission. Now we're going to move into discount. Discount's a great thing because discounted money is the amount being taken off. So we love discounts, especially when we're shopping, because it means we save money, right? And that's always a good thing. So here we have a laptop costs $899. How much is being deducted if the store is offering a sale of 24% off? So if we're going to solve this using an equation, we would say 0.24 times $899, because $899 is our $899 is our total amount, and 24% as a decimal is 0.24. If we were doing a proportion, we would take our percent, which is 24, put it over 100, and our total amount would go under the variable, and we would cross multiply and divide. And no matter which way we look at it, the toaster normally would cost, or excuse me, the laptop would normally cost $899. The laptop is having $215.76 taken off of it. That is your discount, okay? That's not the new price. Be a pretty good deal if it was the new price. That just means that's how much that is coming off that $899, okay? Going on to the next one. A bike is being sold for 78% of its original price of $82.50. Excuse me, $85.50. What is the discounted price? So we have to figure out how much is the bike selling for. So 78% times the $82.50, because $82.50 is the whole amount, or we can do the equation, or excuse me, the proportion. And no matter which way we go about it, we end up with $64.30. $64.35 is going to end up being what the video game is now costing us, or excuse me, what the bike is now costing us. Okay, because that $64.35 is 78% of the original amount. If you were to compare $64.35 to $82.50, you'd find out that that's 78% of the $82.50 is $64.35. Moving on to the last discounted question. This one's going to be a couple of steps for us. After a discount of 35%, you pay $35.71 for the video game. What was the original price? So automatically we know that we are not looking for the part. We were given the part. We know we're looking for that original price, that whole amount that's going to go on the bottom. Now the thing to think about is it says that after 35%, that's how much you paid. So that amount of $35.71 isn't actually what you paid. What you paid was 100% of the cost minus the discount of 35% gives you 65%. That's what you paid. Okay, now we can go through and do our equation. To find out that we don't know the total amount, the original amount, but we do know that when we only paid the discount, or when we only paid the sale price, we got $35.71. So we can divide 35.71 divided by 0.65. If we were doing a proportion, we're paying 65% of the cost, and 35.71 represents what you paid. It represents the 65%. We don't know the total amount. Either way we go about it, we end up with 54.938 and then a bunch of other numbers, which doesn't make sense when we're talking money, so we have to round and say, what does the 8 make the 3 do? It makes the 3 go up, so we get $54.94 is the cost of the game. Moving into markup. Markup is when a store buys something. In order for them to be able to make a profit, they have to increase the price somehow. So what they do is they add on money to it. They add on a percentage to it, okay? So in order for them to make money and make that profit, they're going to increase it by a certain percent. In looking at this first one, we have if the wholesale price, that means what the store paid. Of an item is $250 and the markup is 20%, find the retail price. Retail price is what you pay when you go shopping. If I go into a store and pay $100 for a pair of shoes, it didn't cost that store $100 to make that pair of shoes. It probably cost that store only $30, $40 to make that pair of shoes, and that means the store's going to get a profit off of that amount. Okay? So what we can do is if we like the equation, we could say 0.20 times the 250 to get $50, but we're asked to figure out how much was added onto it, so we would get 50 plus 250, and that's where we get $300 from. If we preferred to do that one in the proportion method, we don't know how much the markup is, but we know that we're adding on 20% because markup is going to be adding. Cross multiply, you're going to get 50, so we would have to add the 250 onto the 50. Now, if we didn't feel like adding on that step and doing that, because that was 2 steps, we can do this in one whole step, but you got to sort of stick with me. What we would say is we have 20% is added onto the cost, okay? But in addition to that, we have 120%. Because 120% is what you pay. You're going to pay for all the cost of what it took the store to make it, and you're going to pay what the store adds on to it to sell it. So you pay, the retail price is 100% plus the markup. That's where 120% comes from. So if I was doing this through the proportion, I would have 120% out of 100, because percents are out of 100 no matter what, and m over 250. If you cross multiply that and divide it out, it takes you directly to the answer of 300. If I was doing the equation, it would be 1.20 times 250. You are taken directly to the answer of 300. So those bottom two, by adding the 100% markup to the percent that the store is marking up, or 100% of the wholesale price plus the markup percent, it's kind of saving yourself a step in the end. So if you like that, there I have given you 4 ways to go about the problem. Pick the one you like the best. Does not make a difference to me. Let's take a look at the second one. If the wholesale price of shoes is $32.25 and the markup is 105%, find the retail price of the item. All right, so wholesale is that. That's your markup price. Markup percent, find the retail price. So again, we're looking for what is it going to cost you? That's what it costs the store to make it, or buy the shoes to sell them. What is it going to cost you when you go into that store? So one way about it is to say that I can do 1.05, because that's 105%, times the 3250, 3220. Now, we can go through, multiply that out, and we end up with 33.8625, but we know we can't deal with that when we're dealing with money, so we have to round it to get 33.8. The 2 makes the 6 stay the same, so we get $33.86 plus the wholesale price of $32.25, and that's how we end up with it costing $66.11. If we were to take that work and put it into the proportion method, we're looking for our markup out of 32.25, and we want to know 105%. And that would give us the 33.86, which we would then have to add to the 32.25. And that's when we get $66.11. If we don't like doing all of that, those two-step parts, we can combine it into one. If I can buy it for 100%, and then I'm going to mark it up 105%, in actuality, I am selling it for 205% of the cost. Okay? You can think of it as 2.05 times 32.25. No matter which way you go about it, you're going to end up the same answer when it comes to the rounding. The odd decimal place may be off. For these examples, it does work out no matter which of the four methods you choose. Given a test, it may alter it, like the hundredths or the thousandths digit, by 1 cent or one place, by one number. Just be aware of that. As long as your rounding is correct and your math is correct, then you don't have to worry about that being the reason that you get a problem marked wrong. Okay, so again, 4 steps, 4 methods to solving this problem. You go with the one you like the best. Now on to the final one. We have, if the retail price of an item is $65 and the markup is 50 cents, 50%, find the wholesale price. So in this case, the only ways to go about this is you cannot do the two-step, the blue and the green that we've been doing on the last two. The only ones you can do are the black and the yellow way. So we have, the markup is a 50%. So you as the consumer are paying 50%, you're paying the wholesale price, which is 100%, plus the markup price, which is 50%. So you as the consumer are paying 150%, and that's what the $65 represents. We don't know what the wholesale price is. So because we don't know, let's kind of group it that way. Because we don't know what the wholesale price is, you can't go into this in an easy way to solve it. There is a way to do this, but the proportions start getting to look like binomial proportions, and we don't want to be messing with multiple variables, so just trust me that this is going to be the easiest way. If you prefer the equation, it would be 1.50 times, we're looking for the wholesale price, would equal the $65. So we know to solve it, we would have to do 65 divided by 1.50. And we end up with 43.3 repeated, which doesn't make sense for money. So we round to get $43.33. So it costs the store $43.33 to make something, and they sell it to you for $65. That means they're getting all of that. 50% is total profit. Markup is strictly just the profit that the company would make. Now let's go into tax. Tax is pretty straightforward. We're not dealing with the kind of thing that your parents pay in April and kind of makes them cranky when they go about doing it. What we're going to be addressing for tax is going to be what you pay, whether you're buying something or you're out eating. Anytime you pay money as a way to, for one reason or another, that's what we are talking about in regards to tax. So again, there's going to be a few methods that we can go about utilizing to solve problems. You buy a backpack for $34.82. The tax is 9.25%. What's the amount of tax? So we just want to know how much are we paying in tax. So if I like the proportion, we know we would say we don't know how much the tax is. $34.82 is the cost of the backpack. Percentage of tax is 9.25 out of 100. Go through and solve it. If you liked the equation, turn the amount of tax 0.0925 or decimal point 0925 times 34.82. Either way you go about it, you're going to get 3.2208 we don't really care about that. what's afterwards because we're going to have to round to make it money. So we get $3.22 because the 0 makes the 2 stay the same. So it's $3.22 a tax. Again, no matter which way you go about it, the green or the blue, either way you will get the same answer. Okay, moving on. Tax. You buy a watch that costs $45.50 and the tax on the watch is 7.5%. What's the final cost? Okay, so this is one that's going to have quite a few methods. The first way is we can say that we know that $45.50 is the cost of the watch, 7.5% is the tax. We cross multiply and we get 3.4125, which doesn't make any sense, so it would be 3.41 would be the tax, plus the original cost of $45.50. Or we can go about it and say the tax is 0.075 times the cost of the watch, which is $45.50. And we end up with 3.4125, which doesn't make sense. So for rounding, we say the 2 makes the 1 stay the same. So we have $3.41 for the tax, plus the cost of the watch at $45.50. Now, if we wanted to take a bit of a shortcut, we could say that I know I'm paying for that $45.50. We don't know how much the final cost is going to be. I have to pay 100% of that $45.50 plus the 7.5%, so I am paying 107.5% of the cost of that watch. Okay, I'm paying 107.5% of that cost, which would also be written as 1.075 times $45.50. Now in these two cases down here, we end up with 48.9125. That goes for the one on the right, the one on the left. Because we rounded earlier in the blue and the green version, we don't have to worry about that much for them when we go to the addition. So in either case, you're going to end up with some rounding. But whichever way you go about it, you should get that the total cost that you're going to pay is $48.91. Looking at the final tax problem. The final cost, including tax, of buying a pair of jeans is $37.82. If tax was 6.5%, what was the pre-tax cost of the jeans? Okay, in this case, because we're including tax, they've already included, you're not going to be able to add it or subtract it because it's within the amount they've given you. So the blue and green methods will not work. We are paying for 100% of the watch, or the jeans, 100% of the jeans plus the tax, which is 106.5%, and the $37.82 represents what you paid with the tax. To figure out what you paid without the tax, you got to go through and figure it out. Now we will end up with, if you want to go about it through the equation, it's 1.065 times $37.82. Now, whichever way you go about it, you're going to end up with 35.511 blah blah blah, but we don't care about all that because what we've got to do is we've got to go through and round. We've got to go through and round. So and when we round, we would find out that the 1 makes the 1 stay the same. So before you paid tax, the jeans cost $35.51. Okay, the last single real-world situation is tip. Tip is something that's going to be added on to a service that is done. So if you go somewhere and someone waits on you, or they sell you something, or someone waits on you in one way or another, you can tip them as a way to say, thanks for doing a good job, or you can not tip them as a way to say, that really stunk, you shouldn't do this again. Okay? So tip and tax are going to be very similar in how they work. You get a haircut that costs $23. If you tip the barber 12%, what's the amount of tip? So we could say that 12% goes over 100. The total cost of the haircut was $23. I want to know the amount of the tip. Okay, pretty straightforward, I think. If you prefer to do the equation, it would be 0.12 or 0.12 times 23. Either way you go about it, you would get that the tip would be $2.76. Okay? Second one, your bill at a restaurant. Ooh, I didn't highlight in that one. I apologize. Haircut cost 23, 12%. Okay. Your bill at a restaurant comes to $24.50. You decide to tip 16%. What's the final cost? All right. So in looking at this, we can think of it as the first way would be we don't know the cost of the tip. We don't know how much was added onto the tip. So we first have to figure out how much was added on. So we end up with 16 over 100 because that's your percent, and T over 24.50 because that's the amount that's the amount of your bill. When we cross multiply and divide, when you cross multiply and divide, you get that the tip is going to be $3.92, which we then add to the cost of the meal, $24.50. Okay, if you prefer the equation, we could do 0.16 times 24.50 equals 3.92, which we then add to 24.50. If we didn't want to go about it that way, what we can do is we can say, I know I'm paying the whole cost of the whole price of the bill, $24.50, and the tip, 16%. So I'm paying 100% plus the 16%. I'm paying 116% of that bill. 100% represents the bill, 16% represents the tip. So I have to figure out what's 116% of $24.50. If I preferred to do the equation, it'd be 1.16 to represent the 116% times 24.50. And no matter which way we go about it, we end up with $28.42 is what it cost you to go out to that restaurant that day. On to the final tip problem. We have your final bill is $51.28. This includes a 12% tip. What was the bill without the tax? So once again, we can't do the blue and the green way because it already included that tip. So we had to pay that final bill, that final amount of 51.28 is 100% plus the 12%. 100% represents the bill, 12% represents the tax. And then we cross multiply and divide to find out the bill without tax. Or we could just say 1.12 times 51.28. Once again, we cannot do this the blue or the green way because it will not, oops, I typed that up wrong. I said that wrong, sorry. We can't do this the blue and the green way because you're not given part of the percent. You're only given the total 112%. So when we solve this, we're finding the total amount, so we have to divide 51.28 divided by 1.12. Either way we go about it, we end up finding out that we get, 45.785 and then a bunch of other stuff. We need to round, so we say, what does 5 make the 8 do? We get $45, and 75 makes the 8 go up to a 9. So before you tipped them 12%, your bill was $45.79. Thank you for sticking with me through these percent problems. I know this is a long video. We got 2 problems left, and these are the longest ones just because of the amount of information that's in there. You buy a gallon in a problem. Before I read the problem, when you are dealing with percents, you can't deal with more than 1% at a time. You cannot combine the percents. What you have to do is you have to apply them one at a time, and in the order that they're written in the word problem, because that's the order that it's going to be given. You always do, just follow the order that it's written and go along with it that way. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to go through these 2 kind of quick, just because it's a lot of information, but the ways are going to be very similar to all of the other percent ones we've done. So in looking at the first one, you buy a gallon of milk that costs $3.50. The milk is discounted for 10% off. You also have to pay 6.25% tax on the discounted price. What is the final cost? Okay, if I am doing this through a proportion, the first thing you have to deal with is figuring out what is 10% of the $3.50. And when you do $10 of the $3.50, you get 0.35, which will have to be subtracted from 3.50. Then when you go to deal with the 6.25, that's got to come off of the $3.15. And when you deal with that, you get approximately 20 cents, which are then added to the 3.15. Okay? If I was doing this where I combined the percentages for the proportions, it would be, if I'm taking 10% off, I'm paying not 110%. I'm only paying 90% because I took 10% away from it. So we have X over $3.50 is 90%, which gives us $3.15. And then we added on 106.25%. And that's how we'd get our answer. If we approach this the equation way, we could say 0.10 times 3.50 equals 0.35. We do 3.50 minus the 0.35 is 3.15. We would do 0.0625 times the 35 times the 3.15 that the price was after the discount, and we get approximately 0.20 because it's 0.196. 6 makes the 9 round up, and then we would say 3.15 plus the 0.20. Now for the quick way to do this, if we're combining the percentages, if I take off 10%, I'm dealing with 0.90 because that's 90% times the $3.50, which equals $3.15. We then have to multiply that by 100% plus the tax, which is 106.25. So I tried to show you the long way and it got a little smaller each time. So the final cost for our milk is $3.35, no matter which way you went about it. Looking at the final example, again, I appreciate that you are sticking with me for this very long video. You go to a restaurant and order $137.61 worth of food. You decide to tip the waiter 18% and you must pay 6.5% tax. What is the final cost of the meal? All right, so let me loop that there. Okay, let's go through this. Once again, I'm going to do the long ways first and then we'll get shorter and shorter. We have the total cost is $137.61 We don't know how much we're going to have to tip the waiter, so let's figure out what we tip. 18% out of 100. And we get that the tip is going to be approximately 24.77 because it's 0.769. 9 makes the 6 go up. We add that to the 137.61, and that's where we end up with approximately 162.38, and we're now adding on a tax of 6.5%, and we end up with the tax being $10.55, which we add to $162.38. Okay, if I was doing the equation for this one, it would be 0.18 times 137.61, the cost of the food, and that's going to equal about 24.77, which we then have to add on to the 137.61 to give us that it's going to be 162.38 after the tip. Now we have to do the sales tax, which is 0.065 or 0.065 times 162.38, and we get approximately $10.55. Because we round, you get 0.5547. 4 makes the 5 stay the same. So then we add our tax of $10.55 onto the cost of the meal plus tip, $162.38. If I was combining the percentages, and I did this on a proportion, I would end up having, out of $137.61, I paid 100% of that bill plus 18% to tip the waiter. And that's where I get about 162.38 because it rounds. You get a 0.379. 9 makes the 7 go up. We then had to deal with paying 100% of that bill, which is paying all 162.38, and then adding on 6.5%, meaning we paid 106.5%. Or we can go about it the very short way. I paid 100% plus 18% of 137.61 to indicate I'm paying all $137.61 for the bill, plus 18% for the tip, meaning I'm going to pay approximately $162.38 with rounding. Then I have to pay 100% of that amount, plus the 6.5% of the $162.38. No matter which way you go about it, your final answer for this is $172.93. Again, if you didn't round until the very end, you would still have to round. You got 172.934. 4 makes the 3 stay the same. So the final cost of your meal is $172.93. Thank you for sticking with me through this very long video.